Hey, what's going on, Chiropractic Mastermind? Dr. Jason Torado here. Welcome to my backyard. So today we're talking about chiropractic newsletters. Do they work? Are they crap? Or is it something that you should be putting inside your office? So I've been using chiropractic newsletters for years. And in addition to a couple of other internal marketing strategies, and I'm just going to tell you flat out before we even get on with this conversation, chiropractic newsletters, I do chiropractic newsletters in my office. I send out text messaging, and I also do a postcard that I send out monthly, and I get over 20 to 25 new patients every single month. And I don't do any other external marketing. That's what I do. There's no magic. That's just what I do. I'm telling you what I do. So before I go on into chiropractic newsletters, whether or not I think they work or not, hey Joe, what's going on? Greg Lee, how you doing, buddy? So before we get into this, let me just start off by telling you, I wanted to talk to you about this because yesterday I was on a strategy call with a doctor. And a strategy call is basically what I do before I talk to a doctor before I get them into my coaching program. And so what I do in a strategy call is I basically assess what's going on with the doctor. I find out what he's got going on. And then I just tell him what he needs to do. And I tell him how to do it. And usually what I tell them usually works. I mean, it's not rocket science. I've been doing this chiropractic thing for about 25, 30 years. And so let's just call this doctor Dr. B. And so I assessed him. I listened to what he had going on. And his biggest problem was, I think this power just went off. Well, maybe, hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hopefully you can still hear me. If you can still hear me, just kind of give me a little nod inside there. So anyway, so I listened to this guy, assessed what was going on, and he had some retention problems, and he also had some, he wasn't getting enough new patients. And one of the biggest problems wasn't retaining his patients properly. And he thought that he could just solve it by just selling more, a larger care plan. And he had tried that a few times, and nothing that he was doing was really working. And so what I told him to do was, I put together, there are a couple of strategies I told him. One was this new patient retention program that I wanted him to implement in his office. And then I wanted him to put together a newsletter program. And so when I told him to start using newsletters, he thought I was crazy. He thought they were a waste of time. He thought it was old school. And essentially I asked him, I said, look, Dr. B, when was the last time you went to a chiropractic seminar? And he said, well, I went to a chiropractic seminar this year. And I said, what did it cost you? And I said, it was about $600. And so I said, well, how did you hear about that chiropractic seminar? And he told me that he heard about the seminar from an email that was sent to him. And I said, did you go right away as soon as you got that email? He said, no. I said, well, how many emails did you get before you decided to call up and register for that seminar? He said, well, I probably got about 6, maybe 7 emails. And then I finally purchased that seminar. And I said, what did it cost? And I think he told me it cost him about $600 just to go to the seminar. So this is probably a pretty expensive seminar, and nowadays. And so I said, okay, so a guy sent you 6 or 7 seminars, 6 or 7 emails. What do you think it cost him to send those emails? He goes, probably next to nothing. I said, and you gave him $600 of your hard-earned money. And he said, yeah. I said, well, then how could he tell me that newsletters don't work when you just spent $600 or $700 to go to this guy's seminar, and all he did was send you a newsletter? He still didn't get it. He said to me, he goes, well, show me the newsletter that I could use. Or he said, make me a newsletter that I could use that's going to help me get, show me the magical newsletter that I can send to my patients that's going to make them spend $600 or $700 inside my office. And I basically listened to him and I said, you know what? He just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. Stacy Ann Smith, how are you, doctor? What's up, Tanner? Great to see you, Dr. Rodriguez. And so I said, you know what? This guy just doesn't get it. I said, it's not that one newsletter that gets your new patient to come in. It's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 newsletters that you send over the course of time that'll eventually get that new patient from coming into your office, because it's that newsletter that establishes that communication and creates that know, that like, and that trustability that will enable that patient to be able to come in. I said, you know what, that newsletter is also used for reactivations. I said, do you do reactivations inside your office? He said, yeah, sometimes. I said, do you call up patients if they missed appointments? He says, yeah, sometimes. I said, do you like doing reactivations? Do you like recalling patients? He's like, my secretary hates it. She absolutely hates it. I said, well, look, if you have a newsletter program that's going on and it's going out every single week, then you don't have to call to try to reactivate your patients, because your newsletter, you see, the only time you've got to do a reactivation program, how's it going, Dr. Whiteside? The only time you've got to do a reactivation program inside your office is when you're not communicating with your patients. That's how it works. And most doctors, most chiropractors, they communicate with patients before they come inside the office, but they never communicate with the patients after they've left the office. And you know what? That's when the work starts. The work starts when they leave the office. That's when you have to communicate with your patients. And if you're doing a weekly newsletter email that goes out to your patients, well, then that's the communication, the constant communication that you can do to stay in contact with your patients. It's that newsletter that educates them. It's that newsletter that creates that bond, that creates that know, that like, that trust. And they can even take that newsletter. You can even use that newsletter, which is what we do. We use that newsletter to stimulate referrals. We use that newsletter to stimulate new patients. We use that newsletter for our patients to send that to other patients. And we use that newsletter to create reviews also, to stimulate reviews. And we use that newsletter for chiropractic education. I mean, look, the list just goes on and on and on. Now, look, I know that people's email boxes, spam boxes, they get filled, right? They get filled with a lot of junk. So that's why you can't send one newsletter. I mean, if you look at my email box, I probably have about 5,000 emails I haven't opened up. But let's face it, if someone is cleaning out their email box and they see a message from Dr. Rodriguez, a newsletter from Dr. Rodriguez, before they kick it out to spam, they're probably going to open up one of them. And look, they may not open it up on a weekly basis, but that's the reason why you send them 52 newsletters every single year. Because out of the 52 newsletters that you send them, one a week, eventually they're going to open up one of them. They're going to open up two of them. And what it's going to do is it's going to keep them it's going to keep you top of mind in their brain. And they may not want to go to because you never know you never know when a patient, either a new patient or an older patient, inactive patient, is going to decide, I need to go back to Dr. Whiteside. You never know. And so the newsletter helps you stay in front of that patient. And how much does it cost? I mean, really, donut. I mean, it literally costs nothing. So look, that was one of the strategy calls. That was one of the strategies that I had given to the doctor. And he was yet totally against newsletters. And when I finally finished talking to him, he said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Give it a shot. I said, you have to, look, if you're not incorporating newsletters, weekly newsletters, and not a daily newsletter, I think that's overkill. But if you're not sending out a newsletter, and usually a custom newsletter, with a good message in it, maybe something about yourself, something about your office, or even something about, it could even be a video. Right? If you're not sending something like that on a weekly basis, then you know what? Someone else is. Someone else is doing it. And if someone else is, and I mean some other chiropractor's doing it, and if some other chiropractor's doing it, well then eventually when your patient decides, or you decides to go back to a chiropractor because their back hurts or the neck hurts, they're going to go to whoever's inside their email box. They're not necessarily going to go back to you. So it's really, really important. I think newsletters do work. And again, it's not a magic bullet. It's not a magic bullet. It's just one of the things that you add to your arsenal, along with weekly text messaging, along with sending out a monthly postcard, things like that. But the beauty behind the newsletter is, you know what? You don't have to ask for referrals. You don't have to ask for reviews. You don't even have, you don't have, you know, all these, you don't have to try to over-educate your patient. All these things, if you're can be done through a good newsletter. So when does a newsletter not work? Because you know what? Newsletters don't work sometimes. So here's when a newsletter doesn't work. You know what? Newsletters don't work when your patient does not want to come back for whatever reason and they don't want your email. That's when a newsletter does not work. That's number one, right? That's when they say, stop sending me your crap. That's number one. When does that normally happen? Well, a lot of times that happens when maybe you've hurt the patient with your chiropractic adjustment and they haven't told you anything. Or maybe your patient has paid you for a certain amount of visits, 20, 30, 40 visits. Look, you know who's selling those plans, but they paid you for those 20, 30, 40 visits, and the patient's feeling better and they want to stop their care, but they've really paid in full. And now they don't want to go back, but they pay this money and like they're starting to they're getting your newsletter. And they're like, oh my goodness, they're really frustrated. That's when newsletters more than likely don't work. Look, the other time newsletters don't work is when you're only sending out a newsletter like once a month, or maybe once a quarter, or maybe once a year. That's when newsletters don't work. You see, the frequency of those newsletters don't work, right? Because the frequency has to be enough so that there's enough inside their box so that they actually, because again, they're not going to, if you just send one, they're going to lose it. If you send two, they're going to lose it. But just keep enough inside their box so that every now and then as they're deleting your newsletters, they decide, you know what, I'm going to open up Dr. Whiteside's newsletter and I'm going to read it really quick to see what's going on inside there. That's when newsletters work. Another time when newsletters work is when the newsletter is not some templated vanilla newsletter. Do you know what I mean? Those things that you buy from whatever systems, those things don't work. Those generic newsletters, they don't work. People don't want to open up crap like that. It's just a waste. You're wasting your money. Newsletters work when they're customized. When the newsletter has maybe a video in it of maybe Dr. Tanner showing you how to do some stretching. A newsletter works. You know, newsletters work when they're customized, when maybe you're discussing something about your family. You know, a newsletter can have a video that you do inside the backyard, like what you see back here. I mean, look how gorgeous this is, right? I mean, look, even if I'm not capturing your attention, I'm sure the background's capturing your attention. So you know what? Do a newsletter in a unique environment. That's how newsletters work. When they are personal, when they are customized, when they're done, when they're not necessarily templated, and when they are just nice custom newsletters. And you don't have to talk forever. It could be a quick video, or it could be just a quick message on how to do some stretching or something like that. Custom video is really, really great. And a quick letter, you know, put in some copy. That's when newsletters work. All right, guys? So look, the key takeaways here are newsletters work. They just do, okay? Number two, I'm not suggesting that you do newsletters on your own, that you sit down and you write up these newsletters. No. What I want you to do is I want you to focus on your care, and I think you should be delegating everything else out of your office, right? Or everything else out. You should not be doing newsletters yourself. Don't do stuff like that. I don't do the newsletters. I don't send out text messaging. I don't send out postcards. I let my team of virtual assistants do that. And for all the guys that I coach, my team of virtual assistants do all that work for them. I don't want my doctors getting overwhelmed with having to think of, well, what am I going to write? You know, what message am I going to write inside this newsletter this week? That's a waste. No, do newsletters, but don't do it yourself. Have someone else do it. The idea for really to truly be successful in chiropractic today, or any brick and mortar store, is very, very simple. You want to be able to get a lot of work done, but you don't want to do it yourself. You want to be able to delegate it out. So you want to get a lot of work done. You're going to get as much work, because the guy that gets the most work done, the guy that is doing the most work, getting the most accomplished, right? But doing it in the least amount of his own personal time, is the doctor that's going to win, right? This way, and that's what you want to have. You want to have your own personal time back so that you can focus on the more important things, the things that generate the higher income, like adjusting patients, right? Focus time with your patients. And then, of course, whenever you're not with your patients, time outside of your office. Outside of your office in beautiful areas like this, spending time with your family, right? Because all those things are going to keep a really good balance between your work and between your family and between God. And when you've got a good balance inside there, that's when things really, really start to gel. When you've got that free time, right, you can actually think for a you're not overwhelmed with work because you've delegated everything out. You're not worried about your new internal marketing. You're not worried about your external marketing. You're not worried about what's going on inside the office, because the only thing that you're really doing inside the office is you're just adjusting. You're just adjusting. And things like billing are handed out, or delegating marketing. All of that stuff is handed out and delegated out. That's all you're doing, is you're focusing, and that's what's going to create momentum inside your practice. And that's what's going to really, really create the magic inside your office. And that's where you're going to be able to make more inside your office. And look, it is about making more, right? Don't be ashamed of making more inside your office, because when you are making more inside your office, you can give more in your life. You can give more to your family. You can give more to your friends. You can give more back to your church. You can give more back to God. You can give more back to society. That's the importance of making more in your practice. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that. You should not be ashamed of that. You should want to make more, because that's what it's about, right? That's what life is all about. It's about making more so that we can just give more to people in our community, in our profession, in our families. That's about it, guys. I hope you like this message. I hope you like the surroundings behind me. This place is absolutely beautiful. This is called Kittatinny Lake. You got to come up here, man. The leaves changing behind me are absolutely amazing. They're really beautiful. Sometimes I come out here just to relax and meditate and watch the water behind me. It's just so serene and so beautiful. That's about it, guys. That's about it. It's Dr. Stacy Ann Smith, Tanner Rodriguez, Travis Whiteside, Jarrell. Thank you for listening. Look, I want you guys to really do great in practice. I want you to be very, very successful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to message me below. I do a free strategy session, where we just basically I analyze your practice. There's no it's a non-pressure talk, and I basically see what you got going on, and I give you my best recommendations on how you can improve your practice, how you can start making immediate revenue inside your practice. And a lot of times, a lot of doctors are just one small step away from really exploding their practice. Sometimes they just need someone who's been there, done that, that's been practicing a little bit longer, has a little bit more experience, and with being successful, to be able to look over their shoulder to see what they got going on, to be able to give them that information, that one tip, that one strategy that can help just really take their practice from going from here up to here, $10,000 more a month, $15,000 more a month, or $5,000 more a month, depending upon where you want, where you want to take it. So I encourage you to take me up on that strategy call. If you want, just shoot me a DM below. I'd be more than happy to talk with you over the phone for 15, 30 minutes. Guys, that's it. If you like this message, please like below. If you think that this content is really great, please, again, like it and share it with someone out there, because share it with somebody out there that needs help inside their practice, because we want to build up chiropractic. We want to build up our profession. We want to do it the right way. We want to do it ethically. We want to do it professionally. And that's about it, guys. So all glory to God, and I love you. Peace.